Welcome to AMD Radeon RAMDisk. In this video, we're going to talk about how to use RAMDisk to speed up your internet browsing. Alright, we're going to start off by going to the Radeon RAMDisk configuration utility, and we're going to set this up to improve our internet browsing speeds. So basically, for using the internet browsing, you don't need a very large RAM disk. We're going to go ahead and actually create a 1 gigabyte RAM disk, and you'll see why later. So we'll switch to the Load and Save tab, and we're going to select Load Disk Image at Startup. And it says this file does not exist because we haven't created it yet. That's fine. We're also going to want to save the disk image on shutdown. So by selecting these two boxes, what we've done is basically create a RAM disk that's persistent. So when we shut down, the changes are saved, and we start up, the disk is there, and the changes are there that we made last time. This is really helpful for internet browsing because we're going to use this for our temporary internet files. So once you've made those settings, we're going to go ahead and start the RAM disk. Okay, it's going to give us this message that the image load failed. That's strictly because we've created a load and save image setting, but we haven't created a file yet to load. So it's going to tell us no, it couldn't find that file, which is okay since this is the first time we're launching it. In subsequent activity, that you will not see this box because there will be a file there. So we'll just say okay. And it's going to give us this message that it failed to load, which we understand because the file isn't there yet. And then just very shortly, it will tell us that the RAM disk started successfully. So basically what we've done is created a 1 gig RAM disk. Now because we've set it to load disk image at startup and save disk image at shutdown, it's pulling all the information from this image file. Okay, and it's very important that we leave it at this default location because that's where we can get the fastest loads on startup and we can get the files set up quickly after boot. So if we go to our Settings tab, you'll notice that now, regardless of what we selected here earlier, it's all grayed out. That's because it's going to be collecting the settings from the actual image file, so it will not know what partition that we've set up on the drive. Now, in a prior video, I showed you how to format these drives. In this video, we're going to do the same thing. Okay, we're going to go to Windows Disk Management, and we do that by selecting Computer and Manage. And that'll pull up the computer management window, and we're going to go to disk management. So what's happened here is we have a new disk that's online and unallocated. That's because we haven't done any formatting yet. So what we're going to do is right click in this space. We're going to create a new simple volume. And that'll pull up this wizard. We'll take the default settings. Again, it's slightly smaller because we've actually, Windows is going to reserve some of that information for the format. We'll let it pick a default drive letter. We're going to name this RAM disk just so that we can easily identify it while we're using it. And hit next and finish, and bang, we have a new disk. And it's all healthy. It's been assigned drive letter F. It may be different for your system. And you'll see there's an autoplay dialog saying, hey, I found a new drive. So that's all expected and good, and we don't need this anymore. Okay, but it's important that we did note that that was drive F. So we're done with this screen. Everything's set up in RAMDisk. We don't ever have to launch this utility again. This is done. When we reboot, everything will come up automatically in the background, and we will never need to launch this utility again until we need to make settings changes to RAMDisk. So that's just finished. All right, now we're going to pull up our web browser, and we're going to go to the Tools, Internet Options, and we're going to go to Browsing History, and we're going to hit the Settings button. Okay, now this is where we're going to get our speed benefit because the way that Windows uses this temporary internet files location is to store information about the web pages you viewed. So it copies the web pages themselves, images, and media for faster viewing. In other words, let's say you have some graphics associated with a website you visit quite a bit. Instead of pulling those graphics every single time from the web, it's going to pull them from your local drive, which is much, much faster. And you'll see some standard settings here. This is the default, so it's a pretty small amount of space that's been automatically allocated as part of Windows. So these are the typical directories that you might see for your system. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to click this Move Folder button. That's going to move the location from our C drive, where it's currently located, to a new location, which we're going to pick as our RAM disk that we created earlier. So we're going to select that drive and say OK. Okay, now we have assigned a new location for our temporary internet files, and it just happens to be on a blazing fast device. So every time that we go to a complicated website with lots of images, instead of the computer searching through your hard drive to find those images, it's going to be pulling them from a very fast solid-state disk. So you're improving your browsing experience quite a bit. Furthermore, what we're going to do is, you see these recommended sizes here. We're going to actually bump that up. We're going to take that up to an even 1,000 megabytes, roughly a gigabyte. Okay, that keeps us underneath the size of the RAM disk and greatly expands it from what we had it set as a default. Click OK. We're going to say, Windows will now log you off to set these settings. So you'll get a message telling you that Windows needs to restart in order for these settings to take effect. Go ahead and do that, and when you restart, you'll see that everything has come back up exactly as you'd expect it, except for everything is now running from the RAM disk, so you'll have faster browsing times. Thanks again, and please check back with us soon.